It's been the policy of the United States for the last 17 years not to engage in federal executions. In July of this year, Attorney General Barr announced that they were going to resume these executions. So far, of the 8 prisoners who have been executed, that represents a number larger than the total number of federal prisoners executed in the last 60 years. Now, Attorney General Barr says there'll be 5 more before the president leaves in 5 weeks. Among those who are going to be executed, if they go through with it, is the youngest person ever convicted on a federal death sentence, and several who have been shown to be seriously mentally ill. In addition to that, there's one where the prosecutor and members of the jury have said to the government, "We were wrong. This man is not guilty." Why would we go through with those executions?
In 2010, 2011, you actually changed your lifelong stance on the death penalty. What made you change?
The overwhelming evidence of mistakes that were made, people who were mistakenly executed, accused of a crime they didn't commit, prosecuted, convicted, and killed by the state. I just thought that was unacceptable. We had reached the point now where too often those were people of color and poor people. Too often we were wrong with even our jury system. Let's not err on the side of execution. Let's err on the side of lifetime in prison.
Now, what would you say to those who say we shouldn't spend the taxpayer dollars for those lifetime imprisonments?
There is a cost associated with humanity and compassion, and even for those who have committed horrible crimes, the notion that they would while away in prison is certainly not a good thing for their future, something they would look forward to. But the making of a mistake and the taking of life by our government would be a serious error.
When you first came out against the death penalty, you actually said that you wanted to keep a door open for federal capital punishment in cases of terrorism and treason. Would you still agree with that?
Well, I'm torn by it, and others are as well. There are some crimes that are so heinous and affect so many people that they may fall into a different category. But I would just say categorically, in the overwhelming percentage of cases, I would not support the death penalty.
Now, you introduced a bill in 2019 to abolish the death penalty. Do you think that that will be able to move forward under the next administration?
I'm not sure. I can't tell you what the policy administration would be. I think President-elect Biden has said he would go back to the bipartisan policy of no federal executions that had been virtually in place for almost 20 years. But I'll wait until he says specifically and clearly what his position is.
Okay. You've mentioned the racial disparities in death penalty cases, but we see some of these inequities in other areas of criminal justice reform. What other ways can we do? What else can we do to prevent these types of racial inequities in our criminal justice system?
I recall when Supreme Court Justice Blackmun, at the end of his career, wrote the story of his service on the court, and after all the years, decades of trying to find how to bring fairness into the imposition of the death penalty, he finally reached a conclusion that we couldn't do it. Unfortunately, there were certain things built into our system that ended up having an impact on the ultimate judgment in this cases involving the death penalty. I'm skeptical that we can legislate our way out of that. There have been many courts and many legislators that have tried. I think it is far better to have the presumption against the death penalty.
I know that Biden, during his campaign, had talked about ending privatized prisons and ending cash bail. Are those things that we should also be working towards?
Yes, I think we should. The only criminal sentencing bill which President Trump signed into law was one that I authored with Senator Grassley of Iowa, a bipartisan bill to end the disparities in sentencing and to provide some hope to those in federal prison that they have a chance to succeed once released. These were fundamentally sound, and I think are good principles that will be followed by the Biden administration as well.